It's good to get it. We don't take days off in series, so we took a day off yesterday in terms of the players, and it gave the coaches a chance to get started. And now you're kind of working twice as hard as you'd like to be because you got two teams you've got to just video prep for. But as far as there's not that much aberration in anybody's game now that these guys haven't seen it before. So it's good to get some rest, not so much fatigue, but just bruises, right? The standard minor injuries that players get in every game, right? You've got lots of guys with blocking shots and things like that. They get a little rest, they get cleaned up, you get ahead of it. So that's the great part.
How advantageous is this for Sam Bennett?
It doesn't change anything because the next series is starting at the same time regardless. So it's not like we push the series back or he gets better rest when he's not out. So he'll skate tomorrow for the first time, and then it's going to be, we'll see. I'll give you an update before the next series start where I think he's at.
Do you think he's going to play in the next round?
It's a very real possibility. Yeah.
And then speaking about your prep time, does it help that these are two teams that you've played not only 4 times, even the regular season, but recently? You know their personnel.
Well, it helps, but it helps them too, right? Because they're going to come out either after a game 6 or a game 7. Now they're not going to have a lot of turnaround time, but they own us. They know us. We know them, and like in like a 13-month period, those are the two teams we probably know the best because we only played Tampa 3 times this year and we didn't play them in the playoffs. So whatever advantage you might have, the other team has the same prep time.
Some people complain about the playoff structure with the pods and they want the 1-8 back or whatever. But when Gary Bettman said, when the NHL set this up, it was to create interdivisional rivalry. Do you think it's worked? Do you think that's happened?
I do think it's worked. I don't think there's much change, right? Like if you went 1 through 8 with the way it's set up, you know what? Where you get grumpy is, and it happened to us. We finished with, I'm not sure what the number is, but like 112 points one year, and Nashville finished with 114. We were 1 and 2 in the league. We met in the second round. That one you're going, hey, what's going on here? But my understanding, and I could be way off on this, and it produces more hockey games. The way it's set up produces the highest number of hockey games. I'm not a mathematician, but it would make some sense. You get more even series, Vegas, Dallas, which is unusual anyway because they would play each other anyway, right? 1 and 8. Right. But when you get those teams that are more closely in finishing their season more closely related because of the way it's set up, you get more games. And that part you got to get behind. Like, that's a good thing, right? More hockey. What I want now is to see hockey every single night, especially because we're moving on to the next, right? I want 7 games, right? And then it's also the fun part of my year. I know exactly what I'm doing tonight. It's going to start at 7:30, right? So as many hockey games we have, I think it's just great for the game. That part, I think, sometimes as a fan or maybe more as a coach, when you think, hey, it's not fair. We didn't get the lowest seed possible. It's not always about you, right? About what you want. The fans get more hockey games, more playoff games. And I think that, as great as the regular season is, as great as our sport is, I feel like we sell it the best in playoffs because that's when it gets to a level that's just awesome to be a part of for fans, for the players, coaches, everybody. So more playoff games is good. Could have just said that right out of the start. Feel free to edit right up to that. Playoffs, good.
I don't know how.
When you challenge offside, it's usually it's very cut or dry.
Right.
It's on, somebody's off.
Right.
Goaltender interference, his opinion, largely, a lot of the time.
Correct.
How does the process differ in those conversations you have to have in 7 seconds with whoever's watching?
Yeah, I won't factor, like the offside call is, I mean, it's almost 100% our video guys. They've got the different angles. That happened in the playoffs last year. A really, really important offside call that I never saw. I never saw the video of it. He couldn't get it out to me fast enough. It was happening that quick. It's offside, so I called it without even knowing. the goaltender interference, there are more. Well, first of all, the idea is that the call has to be overturned, and then I think you asked me at the right time because we just had two go our way, so I'm more philosophical and positive about the process. Is still being redefined, right? Like it's still not redefined; it's being defined. So it's in some ways more clear now than it was 4 or 5 years ago when it first came in. I think there's some iterations. There was zero tolerance. There was lots of tolerance, kind of went to zero tolerance, came back to more tolerance, and now they've tried to narrow it if the goaltender can't get to the save. I think it's goalie interference. So what I do back there on that is truly spirit of the rule. I try not to factor in all the things that are criteria that they tell you. Just, is he in his crease? Did it stop him from making a save? I think he could save. It's almost that simple. Now I will factor in score, place you are in your season. How do I think I'm going to get it overturned? I mean, there's been those. That's goalie interference in my mind, but I don't think they're going to overturn it, so I don't call it. On that one, the first one for me, the one that I called, I thought there was goaltender interference there, but I wasn't sure, 100% sure where it was going to go. Was there enough? I mean, it's there. But then the other factors around it said it's early enough in the game that if you're wrong, even if you get down 2, they may sit on that lead, right? Because they're protecting something we'll have time to claw out. The interesting one was, it was the one the other night, Vancouver, Nashville. They were up 3-1. It didn't change the game, but Nashville tied it, or went a goal under. It was 3-1. They made it 3-2, but they lost the game. But he's in the crease. The goalie's skate hits, and there's a 1, and there's a 2, and then it goes into the back of the net. And you're thinking, if that's at a different time in the game, he calls that all day long. But now there's 2 minutes on the clock. You were up 3-1. Now you're up 3-2. You make that call. Put your faith in your 5 against 6 rather than your 4 against 6. So.
Coach, after the last game, you gave a specific shout out to Anton Lundell for the game.
Yeah.
What is it like coaching a player who is still just 22? I assume when Barker and Chucky, those guys really don't surprise you anymore. You know what they can do. They're stars. But with a guy like Lundy, I'm sure, since he's still hasn't really reached that ceiling, sometimes you might ask him to do something, not knowing what might happen. I imagine.
So, a player who's 22 years old can develop. He's going to develop into 3 or 4 different kinds of players. He might, if he's in an environment where offense is, really looked at a premium, he will develop his skill game and he will play the game like a skilled player. And then he's also capable of being a really good defensive player. So there's a middle of ground there, but very, very hard, very intense, where I'd like to see him to get to. So I have an idea of what Anton Lundell should look like as a player. And that's really like a two-way gritty guy, but with some hands and with some skills. Like he can do it all. And that's our challenge as coaches, is to make sure he gets to that. Not just a skilled guy or just a defensive guy. He's got to be able to do both at a high level. The best players in this league work their asses off shift over shift. They really do compete very, very hard. Then there's a whole bunch of really skilled players that are just slightly on the outside of that perimeter. They're very gifted. They're very good. But they're not drivers necessarily. Their points will say, hey, they got paid a lot of money, but in the room they're not driving the game. I thought he was driving the game. Like, he was good before the line switch, and then after that, well, we played him against Braden Point, Stamkos, and Kucherov. Now, that's a pretty good line. They were good. I was happy for him. I was excited for him. Then
How much does having Sasha Barkov around him all the time, Lundell especially, help him?
I think it's really, really good. Right? That's the positive. There's also a potentially dangerous thing, is that you try to be Sasha Barkov and you're not. And that's not Anton can become a champion in his own game, truly. He could be a driver. He could be a captain of the team, but he's going to have to drive. But he's not going to be Barkov. Barkov is an unusual skill set to be that big, that fast, those hands, read the play. He's become a more physical player at the right time, Barkov. I think the best version of Anton Lundell is not a Barkov clone. He will drive into his own area.
And real quick, 60 goals for Sam Reinhart, franchise record for
Yeah,
continuous games.
yeah.
What do you think? I mean, what do you think of that number, 60 goals for that guy? I mean, we've talked about it.
It's
in
an
30,
awesome
40,
number, right?
50.
So when he hit the 50 goal mark, I thought, I wonder how many other 50 goal scorers I've coached. Yeah, like none. That's how rare it is. It's just not a lot of. And Matt Sundin, and there's some pretty skilled players in there. Brendan Shanahan at 44, but like 40's anyway. It's a big, big number. But there isn't a cheat part of his game. And what's impressive about the 60 is he didn't hang out on the power play. If he was on the ice for empty netters, it was the right thing for him to be on the ice. He's a right-hand face-off man. He's part of our kind of number one penalty killer. So I didn't put him out there to get him his third goal, or he's really. There are skilled guys that probably shouldn't be on the ice at the end of the game. It's not what they do for a living, but they got good enough hands. That's not how he gets his goals. So we made an adjustment. Took him off Barkov last game. You can't tell except the two guys I play with. Boy, they play well after that. What's great about him is he scored 60 goals, and that clearly is the headline. But it's not necessarily the best part of his game, right? But his attitude sucks, and he's mean to small animals, squirrels especially.
But he's going to get Selke votes, so there's something to say about that. I mean,
Well, I'll just take
You know.
it with a grain of salt.
The squirrels notwithstanding.
Yeah.
You guys had, I think it was 5 full days off between, obviously there's practice.
Yeah.
Between Toronto and Carolina last year, and then eight or nine between
Yeah.
Carolina and Vegas. And I know when you go to the final, there's a lot of days to
Yeah.
the circus of the final. But what did this team learn about how to handle downtime?
Not be afraid of it early in it. So we'll go 2 days. So at the end of our regular season this year, we took 2 days off the ice, but the training is going on right today. It's fairly hard. As a matter of fact, it can be because you have some recovery days, and then we'll get off on 2 game block. We'll do 2-day blocks. So we played with some different things. I mean, we came out right against Carolina, even though I think they owned the first 10 minutes of that game. We were
The
fine.
last 200 minutes were pretty good.
Well, no, there was a 10-minute block in each game that we played Carolina where they dominated us. And that's a function of the style of game they play and the building that they have and the way things go for them. But so what I thought was, I thought by the time we got to Vegas, it didn't matter how many days we had off. The looser run and broken leg was really coming still. And then when Matthew went down, but we were in trouble before that. We're playing with it. We have a sports science group. We got a new facility. Got lots of things we can do for recovery for these guys, and we're exploring all that. And we're trying to learn too. It's not that we set a program and we're staying with. There's a better way to do this. So that's what we're all doing down there today.
Coach, you talked about throughout the season just about how much your coaching style has had to evolve over the years.
Yeah.
The last 2 years here, what have you learned the most about yourself? How much have you had to adjust, and what has it been like with this group getting them to where they are
Yeah.
in 2 years' time?
I guess one of the really noticeable things to me is I'm a small piece to this. I got a piece of my job that I've got to do, and I've learned to stay in my lane quite a bit more. I've got my penalty kill guys knows what he's doing, right? He doesn't need a lead. I don't need to be in some of those meetings. We got experts in all areas of what they do, and letting them do what they're good at is. Yeah, probably a little bit stubborn in my own, not in my old age. I'm less stubborn than I used to be, for sure. Less, I think I'm a little better listener. I don't know. I just got to a place here. I know that I'm a piece. I got a job to do. I know what that job is, and I work hard at it, and I enjoy it. And the rest of it, I don't. The players are kind of outstanding here. Like, I don't got to deal with all that stuff. They take care of. Everybody knows their job. We kind of came in. I think maybe what we did well was early on we defined everybody's job. This is what we're asking you guys to do on a daily basis, and then we spent some time defining, handling your day. What are you doing today? Everybody does their job. We can have fun with it. But really, what I've enjoyed is we sit around the table out there. I got one chair, and everybody else has their own place to sit, and they're all smart guys. And up here, I ramble like a bumbling idiot, but in there, I kind of listen a little bit.
Seems like you guys have a pretty good dynamic and relationship,
Yeah,
plural.
Bill starts all that, right? Walking in, he's different. He engages everyone, and he's got a work ethic and an ability to get up and process. You know, he'd be one of those guys that could write 5 exams in a day, right? And where I'm off for the week. When the game's over, he can go. He can start talking about a player and check, and he can start, and he's on it. He has an incredible capacity to work on a multiple, not necessarily a multitasker. I think that's his background as an agent taught him to handle 50 things at a time without multitasking. High focus on one and move on to the next. Where I am, get rid of the 49, I'm doing this. And everything else, you guys take care of that, this I'll get done. So that balance has been good for us, because sometimes we need to get a little bit like this and that, but for me, I need a much wider view that I had in the past, and then I needed to let people handle some of that too.
Aside from Bennett, do you expect anybody to miss practice tomorrow? I mean,
No, I think we have all skaters, and Benny will skate probably on his own.
How big is that right now? To come through a contentious series like Tampa,
We got to come through with a plan too, and I think we came out of that last game with a pretty good template of how we're moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
guys,
Thanks
see ya.
very much.
thank you.